So right now I'm going to go over the customer service checklist. I have covered certain elements of that in other videos, but I want to concentrate on it a bit more. So here we go. Always be friendly and polite. Obviously, right? Treat others as you want to be treated. Customers should be happy here. Our business model is not to make customers unhappy or be rude to them. There are businesses I've heard about that actually have that as part of their whole spiel, where they are rude to the customer on purpose. Generally, that's not the case. So here, you want to be very nice and very friendly, especially because most of the customers are new moms, young moms with kids, and they're overly sensitive to everything. I am a parent, so I know I've been through that stage. Lack of sleep, exhaustion, aggravated. You want to be extra nice to people who are more sensitive than, let's say, an average customer. But regardless, you want to be nice to everybody. You've heard customers always right. I believe in that mostly. I want to say customer is almost always right. Obviously, there are times when customer is not right, but usually the customer is always right from the perspective where you have to please the customer. You have to make sure that the customer is happy if you want to get the money from that customer. If you want that customer to come back, if you want that customer to speak well of you, to leave a positive review, things like that. If you are comfortable, if you know how to speak to the customer well, even if the customer is unhappy, you can turn that around. You can make amends, you can offer free things, you can make them happy. Sometimes they do that on purpose to get stuff out of you. You'll know when that happens, but regardless, it's better to have a happy customer who will speak nicely of you. If it's just a bad customer, and you need to have patience. You need to deal with them in the best way that you can, as long as they're not disturbing other guests. If they are being very disrespectful, not just to you, but to everybody, to your business, to the kids, other customers, by yelling, being loud, obnoxious, just ask them to leave. If they're breaking rules, if they're not working with you, they have to leave. It's simple as that. If a customer refuses to sign the waiver, explain to them the waiver is necessary for this type of playground. By signing, in summary, the parent acknowledges that they are responsible for their child and anything that happens here. If they don't want to sign because of, let's say, photography paragraph, explain that it is usually only for special occasions or parties. If something else is a concern, address it as best as you can. If after all is said and done, and they still refuse to sign, see if they would like to speak to the owner if you're not present, if they're talking to the employee. If you're the owner and they still refuse, well, politely decline entry. If a customer refuses to take shoes off, they will give many different excuses. So politely explain to them why we're doing this. We're trying to keep the play area clean and dirt-free as best as we can, so they need to help with that. They don't really have a choice. The front desk area before the gate is the only place where they're going to have the stroller and the shoes and dirt. And even that, you should try to keep clean as much as possible. So wipe down that area multiple times a day. If it's a vendor who came to service some kind of equipment, same for them. Ask them to take the shoes off. There have been occasions where they would refuse to do it. In that circumstance, okay, you can give them a shower cap for their shoes. Either way, refuse entry if they don't want to put shower caps on, which they usually will put them on. For customers, however, who just hang out here and they're with their kids, no shower cap for shoes, because no shoes for them. And of course, there are always exceptions, and there are exceptions to the exceptions, so just use your best judgment. See what the situation is and how to best deal with it. If a customer is being too loud, to disrupt to other guests, so like I said, talk to them quietly and politely. Don't go off at them. Try to be courteous, polite, not disrespectful. Try to basically give them a chance to save face, type of thing. If they refuse, then you'll deal with it. But most of the time, that works. You don't want to embarrass them, because that will only aggravate them more. And yeah. I've had a time when I walked into a store and a young employee, didn't like what I was doing, even though I wasn't doing anything wrong. But the guy just went off at me. I was so shocked I couldn't even react. I didn't know. I just turned around, left, and then I called the management, and I explained that employee needs to be retrained, because that was unacceptable. So you don't want to do that. You want to sort of escalate things if there's a need to escalate them. In general, if there are any issues, any kind of issues, try to address them with a customer quietly, politely, maybe away from other customers, so that there can be privacy for that situation. If a customer becomes disruptive and refuses to stop, then ask them to leave. If they played over a certain amount of time, for example 30 minutes, do not offer them refund. Unless they ask for a refund, then provide it. If they just got started, then just give them the refund right away and ask them to leave. If their child is disruptive to other kids, then do your best to work it out with the child in a friendly way by saying something like, please be careful, you can hurt other kids, or please don't do that, or please share, take turns, and so on. If all of that fails, ask a parent to step in. If parent fails to step in or fails to change their child's behavior, then then that child is being disruptive to other kids, and other parents are becoming concerned, and you don't want that situation. So depending on what's going on, use your best judgment. If somebody needs to leave, they need to leave. Try to diffuse anything that may become an issue later on. If it really does escalate to the point where customer is very disruptive and refuses to stop, refuses to leave, then what can you do, right? So you don't have too many options at that point. So you have to forcefully remove them. If you ask them to leave and they don't, you can't physically touch them, I assume, because that's what the police is for. So say you're going to call the police. If they still don't do anything, call the police and wait for the police to arrive. If they become aggressive, then I think at that point it should be safe to say that they are about to hurt somebody, right? So if they're about to hurt somebody, you see they're about to hurt somebody, or they're trying to hurt somebody, and the police is not there yet, then somebody has to get involved. So you can make that decision. If you want to get involved, or if other customers are going to get involved, just kind of figure out what you want to do beforehand. So when the situation happens, if it happens, you know what to do. I've only had a few situations where customers were disruptive, and I did calm them down, or I did ask them to leave. There was one instance where they refused to leave for a while, so I was really calming one customer down, but then the other one got really aggravated with that, so you can't make everybody happy. But probably my best course of action would have been to get rid of that disruptive person first, instead of trying to calm them down as much as I did. But regardless, each situation is different. If it's not you, the owner, that's present, but the employee, then you really got to make sure the employee understands what the course of action should be, depending on the escalation of the aggression of the customer or disruptiveness. They may need to call you, or they may need to call the police right away and then call you. It just depends. When it comes to child interaction, it's best that you do play with the child if the child wants to play with you. If the child doesn't want to play with you, don't force the child to play with you. Often the kids do like when an adult plays with them. There are many activities available. So if you want to throw certain rings and balls, you can do that. If you want to use building blocks, you can do that, or chalk activity, or reading the books, playing hide and seek. A lot of kids love that, so you can do that. Do kind of gauge to see if the parent is comfortable with that or not, but most of the time parents love that they can just sit back and relax. So if you put in the work to hang out with the kid and they get to relax, they're very excited about that. Sometimes parents do come here to specifically hang out with their child, so don't intrude on their time. Stay away, and you'll know based on how the parent is acting, if they're just staying back or if they're really like interactive. Some parents are very like helicopter parents, and they're just like hovering over their kid. You may not want to get into that, or you may want to just chat with the parent and then see if they want to relax, and you'll take over. And sometimes that will be the case. If the child seems bored, engage them. Try to make it fun for them. If there is a need for physical contact, I would say it should be initiated by the child. For example, some kids, especially like little girls, they love holding hands. So they'll grab your hand. I think that's okay. But then again, it depends on the parent. If the parent is all weird about it, obviously don't let the child hold your hand, or ask the parent if that's okay. I've had one employee who was from a different culture, and it depends, right, culturally speaking. In certain cultures, it's perfectly acceptable to hug a child, kiss a child, hug another customer, kiss a customer on the cheek. When you're doing the greetings, you can do the French or Italian or whatever, how they do like 2 or 3 kisses on the cheeks. That's acceptable, but it depends on the culture. So you'll know which customers are okay with that, which customers are not, if you want to do that or if you don't want to do that. Just always be mindful, because it's kids. Of course, do not assume that the parent is okay with it. So you have to see what type of interaction the child is looking for. If the child is doing something unsafe and you're running to it, there's no time to think, hey, can I touch your child because your child's about to fall off a swing or whatever. No, in that circumstance, you save the child if you have to. If you're the one that's the closest and you're running to them, that's fine. And then if the parent has a problem with something like that, well, they should be a better parent and they should be next to their child, really. They can't tell you that you can't save your child. Their child. That's crazy. So there's all sorts of different situations. You just have to be really cognizant of that. Speaking of unsafe situations, if the child is about to fall off something and you grab them, then you really need to bring their parents' attention to that and be polite, but tell them that they need to pay better attention. If their child is incapable of playing safely, then they either need to be next to them or they just really shouldn't be playing for it. This is not a daycare facility or a school. There's no license for us to take care of the child. Any kind of playtime that we do with the kids is sort of our own accord. The parent is always responsible. The second the parent walks through that door, their responsibility does not stay in the shoe area with the shoes. Once they're in, their responsibilities remain. They are in charge of their child at all times. While they are playing here, while they're hanging out, if there's an opportunity, try to strike a conversation. Try to talk to the customer, to the parent, to the child. If they're friendly with you, you can at some point bring up the fact that we do birthday parties. You can ask when the child's birthday party is. Sort of get a feeler for what they want, what they like, if they do birthday parties at indoor playgrounds, or if they would consider it. You can always ask them. It's a natural way of being a salesman. Just make a connection with the customer. And often I found that if they like you, then there'll be a big selling point. They almost always love the playground, but they also have to like you to celebrate here. So do your best because they want to be treated well. They want to know that they're not going to be like harassed in and out. Some places I've done birthday parties, they're like, okay, 12:01, your party's started, you know, 1:01, your party's over, get the hell out. I wouldn't recommend a place like that. And a lot of people don't like that. So I've been very flexible with a lot of things here, sometimes maybe a little too flexible, which would sort of hurt me in the immediate sense, but in the long term, I think it was still a good thing. While kids are playing, if there are multiple kids, it's good to bring out some sort of activity to switch it up for them. Sometimes it's good to sort of diffuse and redirect energy, for example. So I would bring out the bubble machine sometimes. There's a song from like Gummy Bar or whatever, bubble song. So kids love that song, and if you're doing bubbles with that song, they just go crazy. And so once in a while, if things get too crazy on the playground or if kids are bored, then I'll bring that out, and you can make it like a regular thing, like once an hour on the hour, or once a day, or once per like morning and afternoon session, or just depending on what the kids are doing. So kids love that, so I would definitely do that. Another thing I would do is not just for that bubble song, but like I'd let it go on for a few songs. Most kids, most of the time, would love it. So they'll ask you for more. Sometimes after the first song, I'll turn it off, and then I'll see their reaction. And if they're all looking disappointed, I'm like, "You want more bubbles? More bubbles?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so you turn it on, and the fun just keeps on going. Then let's see what else. During birthday parties, that there are additional activities that I was doing, like dry ice, for example. I haven't seen anybody else do it. It was definitely a good selling point for a lot of birthday parties when I would offer, instead of character animators, like a bubble machine, dry ice, and let's say balloons, animal balloons, something like that. I would do all that myself, and that was usually enough for a lot of parents. With the dry ice, it's very fun because if you haven't seen it, when you put dry ice into water, there's a lot of smoke coming out, and you can play with the smoke and do all sorts of stuff with it, and take a cup, and like then you have a cup full of smoke, and then you can add a little bit of soap, and then there's like all these soap bubbles with smoke, and kids are really like interested in that. Out of all of the parties I've ever had, there was only like one party where kids didn't like it. I don't know, it was weird. They didn't like anything. They didn't like the bubbles, they didn't like animal balloons, they didn't like anything. Just strange bunch of kids. But things like that. You can come up with different activities. You can do like dancing party song thing on the hour or whatever. Or face painting, anything really. It adds value to the playground, to the kids. Parents are happy. For their $11 admission, they get to be here as long as they want. And their kids are entertained by you with different activities, and they can sit back and relax. It's just really fantastic all around. If someone purchases ice cream, it can get messy. So over time, I found that it's just best to offer a plate and a napkin along with the ice cream. Less cleanup for you. Something like that. Just in general, if they're eating kind of messy snacks, if you're okay having those snacks here, you can always offer them a plate and a napkin or a fork, things like that. Throughout the day, always make sure that the tables are clean. Tables, the chairs, the floor. Most customers were fairly neat. They would clean after themselves, but even after the clean customer, there's still stuff left on the table. So you usually don't leave out cleaning supplies for the customer. So they'll do the best, do their thing just to be neat, and then you can come in and like wipe down the table. Always make sure that trash is not full, that it's not smelly. Make sure the diaper genie is always taken care of. Sometimes one diaper is enough to like destroy the playground. It's crazy. So I don't know what those kids are eating, but gotta stay on top of that. Also make sure customers are changing their kids in the bathroom. from time to time they want to change them in the playground. Convenient for them, but no, it's not hygienic. It's not sightly. It smells bad. Just ask them to change them in the bathroom where the changing table is, and also make sure that everything is clean and neat and the diaper is in the diaper genie, not regular trash after they're done. So every time you see that somebody changing their diaper, check the bathroom afterwards. One time, it was horrible timing. A new customer came in. The second they opened the front door, the bathroom door where somebody was changing their diaper was open because the customer just left the bathroom. So literally, one enters on one side, the other one leaves the bathroom, doors open, and this just tsunami of like crap smell hits the new customer, and like that person just stood there for like a minute at most, asked a few questions, then just decided to leave because they got a bad impression that the playground is smelly. So make sure the bathroom door is closed. Leave the light on because the light is attached to the fan and the exhaust fan, so it'll suck out all the bad air, and you can turn it off after 10-20 minutes or whatever. As far as the toys go, just try to walk through and make sure the playground is neat. I don't know, every 15 to 30 minutes or so, depending on how many kids are. Some kids are very neat. They'll play all day, and you don't have to clean anything because the kids use the toy and put it back. Some kids can literally, like one or two kids can destroy the entire playground. It's insane. Usually when that happens, I try to address that with the kids, and if that doesn't work, then with the parent. I understand that they pay to play, but they didn't pay to destroy. This is not one of those, I forget the name, but one of those businesses where you go in and you destroy everything. It's not that. That $11 admission is to play with things and also leave them for other kids to play. As far as merchandise for customers, I try to get healthier snacks. They tend to be less popular, but I still think it's better to have less popular healthy snack for kids than to have a bunch of crap. So I try to buy a lot of organic stuff and a few non-organics. Like if I couldn't find, for example, goldfish. Kids love goldfish for some reason, but I couldn't find organic goldfish, so I would get that. A few other things like cookies or whatever. Ice cream, there's like particular brands of ice cream they go crazy for, just based on the basically artwork on the ice cream itself. They didn't seem to care that much about the ice cream as much as they cared about the way that it looked. So you can kind of play around with merchandise and see what they like, what they don't like, offer them different options, tell them what we have. As far as customer service regarding parties goes, try to be helpful throughout the party. Try to talk to the host, see if they need anything throughout the party. Usually the way that I had it structured is that I had two helpers. They would help set everything up before the party. They would clean up and break down everything at the end of the party. And during the party, they would primarily keep checking that things are clean, that there's no mess on the floor from food, throw trash out, and play with the kids. So once in a while, if you come to the host and you keep offering your help, like non-intrusively, not like every 5 minutes or whatever, just maybe once every half an hour or whatever, or if it looks like they need help, then they're very happy about that. So try to keep track of all the customers. Once they are playing inside already, they often like to take socks off. If they're sitting here in the lounge area, they're feeling comfy, they don't like socks, they're trying to get sneaky, and they'll take the socks off. Or kids love running around barefoot, so just gonna keep track of that at all times. Pay attention, don't harass them, but be nice about it and remind them that the socks have to stay on. If someone is showing any signs of being sick, find out exactly what's happening. That's a biggie, especially now during COVID. Although right at the moment of me filming this, the playground is closed because of the stay-at-home order. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video now, just kind of take advantage of the empty space and record a video for everybody to share this business with. But basically, COVID aside, make sure everybody's healthy who's in the playground. If they're not healthy, you gotta ask them to leave. Find very nice ways of doing it, but basically, a lot of parents are very sensitive to that, whether their kids is sick or not, whether somebody else's kid is sick or not. You want to be nice and polite about it. You want to make sure that first-time parents, second-time parents, anybody and everybody, they're healthy and they're not afraid by anybody else who may or may not be healthy. I've had times when somebody's coughing because of allergies, but everybody else is really freaked out, or they're telling me, oh, they're not contagious anymore. But please ask them to leave and come back when they're healthy. If you have to, give a refund. If you have to, give an extra free entry pass. But just apologize and say that you don't want to get anybody else sick. So, and you don't want to be sick yourself, and you don't want your employees to be sick. Your employees or you, whoever's here a lot, will be exposed to all these people. So it's possible they'll get sick. That means you gotta do shift changes. You gotta cover yourself. Or you get sick, you can get your family sick. Especially now with COVID, once the business reopens, you gotta stay on top of that. Probably do the temperature checks. Even pre-COVID, I was very, very on top of it and very careful. I would always ask customers to use the hand sanitizer. If anybody was sick, I would ask them to leave and come back later. I feel like with the amount of cleaning that I've been doing here, honestly, I was prepped for COVID before it even began. Unfortunately, it did happen, but as far as my cleaning procedures go, I haven't really changed anything because there's no real need to do it, because I'm already doing it. What I'm supposed to be doing now post-COVID. So just in summary, make sure that all the customers are happy and healthy. This is a place of happiness. If parents are relaxing and they're happy, they'll want to come back. If the kids are happy, they'll want to come back. And that's what you're doing. You're providing a happy experience for everybody.